Hey guys, Jacob with Very Good Knife Company. I got a chance to get out and make a video for you guys. I'm out here in the bear hole again. Don't think there's anybody out here with me today in terms of furry friends. I don't have a whole lot to talk about, but I do have a whole lot of knives to talk about, so that's what we're going to talk about today. I'm just going to pull from the bag here and just go as we go. Some bloodline stuff in here, and a lot of very good stuff, and just knives that I've been using and knives that I carry around. So first off, we'll talk about the Rambler. So this has the old initials there, American flag, and then I made these leather carriers. You guys know, if you watched my adventure videos, that I've been doing that for a long time now, but my kids all have one. This is a black one, and then my wife's got one. Hers is purple burgundy, and then there's a red one, and then a blue one, and then my boy is a lefty. He's got a Nat. And they all use these, and they carry them. They're not super used and carried, but Autumn's just got pine sap all over it, and they're pretty respectful of the edges, and they use them pretty nicely. Autumn is she's a natural at carving already, but anyhow, we teach our kids how to use knives with these knives, the Rambler. It's got a lot of handle and not a whole lot of blade. Still got 3.5 inches of blade there, but it's got 4.5, closer to 5 inches of blade of handle, and that it just gives you a whole lot of control. These don't have a lot of stop. There's hardly any stop at all in the choil there, so they really need to understand the concept of not stabbing things recklessly, which is good. It's good to teach knife users that early. So yeah, we've got a set of those. Speaking of that green, I carry every day an Adventure. This one's Nitro V in that dark green, and you can see the difference between it carried every day and not carried every day. The difference in color, you guys can see that. One's really dark, one's still brand new, fresh. And I have used my Rambler a good bit, but again, this knife gets reached for a whole lot every day. And then I also have my Walkabout in that green as well. This knife you've seen on YouTube a time or two in other people's hands, but this one is that same green, and this one has been used as much as my Adventure. You can see it's nice and dark. My gosh, that four-wheeler is loud. Anyway, so the Walkabout actually started way back with Bloodline, of course, inspired by SC6 and stuff like that. But this is the first closest version of that. And this came from Bloodline. It's not stamped. I never stamped this blade. It was just 100% throw together prototype. So this was the first knife that I actually ever used a router bit to contour the handles. This is the first one, and it's all screwed up. You can see the handle there. It's all messed up, and the face is all messed up. It's not pretty, but this particular knife has cut I'd be willing to bet it's cut multiple cords of firewood down into kindling. The edge is not great on this knife because I keep it for batoning. It's 80 CRV2, the same recipe that I'm using, and it still does its job, but the edge isn't great on this one because I baton with it, and it has hit rock. We have a rock fireplace, and I baton right on it. So years this knife has worked for us. I made this knife in probably 2014 or 2015. This one I actually put into the lineup with Bloodline, named the Trek, and this is it. So you can see they're pretty close. This one's a little bigger. I knew that it needed a little more blade, and I wanted a little more tip, a little less belly from this, so I went into this. Now this knife has been through the ringer a good bit, but not as much. You can see it's powder coated, a green powder coat. You know, after doing a powder coat for close to probably 600 or 700 knives, I've come to the conclusion that I do also dislike powder coat. But the whole reason that I did it is because 80 CRV2 is, it's just one of those steels that if you don't baby it or get a really good patina on it, like carrying it every single day, which is babying it, then it'll rust real quick and real ugly. So I just started powder coating them, and you know, it's worked for me. I've got this one that's been batoned with a good bit, and you can see that it hasn't quite worn off, but it's worn thinner in places, but it's held up really well. The powder coat, this particular powder coat that I was using is, well, I can't even remember. Columbia, maybe. Columbia powders. Not Colombian powder, but it's a textured OD green. This is the original Adventure. And this one was carried, I carried this one every day from 2017 until I made the current pattern of the Adventure, which I carried from 2021. I want to say 2021. This one's also powder coated. And this one got carried up until I replaced it with the Nitro V test knife, which came out. You guys can look at the dates on that. It's on YouTube. But anyhow, the original Adventure, you can see how much this thing's been sharpened. I have an outline of the original tracing, and I knew I'd want to change something on it. This one has a really straight, uniform handle, and it's actually extremely comfortable, but it is a little wide in the front end for me, and I wanted something finer, still robust, but finer. So the Adventure led into this, and I've got a whole video on this. So we were just talking about powder coat. The powder coat lasts. I batoned with this. This knife never left my side. It traveled a whole bunch of states with me on the road doing shows. It's gone on tons of backpacking trips, and it's done lots of things. It's been an absolute killer knife. But I quit carrying it because, oh, no, you don't want to do it. The sheath won't hold it no more. And it split right there on the thumb ramp. But anyhow, this one I was still carrying every day when I did the Nitro V test knife, which is, and you can see my trend with the saddles, the leather over Kydex. I like the fit of a Kydex. I want the security that it's not going to go anywhere, but I like the flexibility of a leather belt loop and a leather sheath. So this is kind of why I came up with that. Now I have a video on that as well. Actually, it might just be wrapped up into the adventure video. Don't think I'm the first person to do it, because everything's been done at some point. But when I started doing this in 2016 is when I did my first one of these. Maybe 2017 when I made this one. It was my first one. So 2017, I made my first one of those, and there's just nobody doing it. I did see something similar, but it was on a pancake style sheath, you know, and that's just a piece of leather bolted to it. But anyhow, so I replaced the Adventure with this one, and this one rattles in its sheath because it's not supposed to be in this sheath. I just took a Hornet sheath and made it fit because the blade was close. But this is the Nitro V test knife, and I carried this one until June when I replaced it with the brand new Adventure in Nitro V. And I did that because I've been carrying the 3/16 Adventure for years and years, and I don't know. This one's 1/8 inch. It's light. It's slicey. It's been a really good knife. I love the way it feels. This one is most closest to a Rambler, but it is not a Rambler. It has a little bit higher of a grind. Does not have much of a cheek. Edge is on the bevel. It's pretty close, but, and then the handle's a little different than a Rambler. This one's got more of a stop. But anyhow, so I carried this knife for quite a long time, close to 8 months, I guess. Every day, and never left my belt. I tested it and abused it, and it held up pretty good. But I did notice that there was some minor micro changes that I could do to my heat treat right off the bat, and I have done that. Every knife that has come out that is a Nitro V from Very Good has had the updated heat treat. That one does not like certain things. It's a little picky because I went slightly different with my heat treat recipe. Although it did test really good, some of the micro fine edge retention is not as good on that knife as it is on my new heat treat recipe. So what's next? Tradition. Let's talk tradition. I don't even have a new tradition to show you guys, but this is the original tradition from Bloodline. This is it. This one has been beat to death. I carried this knife before I started carrying the original Adventure. And I carried this knife. You can see that worn out sheath. It's got some tiner to it. But this is a Bloodline tradition, and it's got the 3/16 stock. And this one is not ground super great. This is circa 2015. So 10 years almost of grinding experience ago. Now you'll notice right off the bat that this one has no stop at all, has no choil. It's just a straight handle right into the blade. So if you stab something with this, it's gonna cut you damn self. This knife used to be quite a bit bigger, and I sharpened the life out of it. ADC RV2. This recipe for the very first These blades are blued. This is a blued blade. And I have more of these. Let's see. Here's one now. I tested this one, and it's got a brand new edge on it. But before I put the new edge on it, I tested this one to complete near destruction. This one's got jimping. This is called the Yona. Pretty cool. And I was doing belt loops kind of like this. See, leather. Not great. Good Kydex sheath. This knife has been a fantastic knife. This knife cut a brick in 4 different places. Why? Just because. 10 years ago, extreme carnage, stupid tests like that were what people wanted to see. So that's what I did. It's a good knife. It cuts pretty nicely for having such a big old edge on it now. It's probably, I don't know, 40 or 50 thou behind the edge now. It was originally closer to that 25. And it took some abuse. But anyhow, that bluing was the original first generation Bloodline stuff, and I went from that to a powder coat because people didn't want to take care of it. So this is a generation 2 Bloodline. Now there's quite a bit of these in existence. When I say quite a bit, I mean like 400 or 500. So the odds of ever seeing one are low, but maybe you'll find somebody that's got one. There's not 10 of them out there in existence. There's a lot more than that. But anyhow, same screwed on handles. This is G10, orange G10. This is my wife's knife. This is Rebecca's knife. Powder coated, black powder coat. ADC RV2. Original recipe, which is slightly different than the recipe that I have now. Just slightly. And here's another one of those Bloodline. This is the Fang original. It's got the blued ADC RV2 compound grind, and this has got a humongously thick tip on. This was actually a pretty good working knife, but real short hollow grind, especially for that 3/16. You know, when you look back at your old work, if you don't feel like you've progressed, maybe you weren't seeking to learn anything, especially when you've been doing it as long as I have. So the development of these knives led to what Very Good is now. This knife is just, you know, if you break this knife, you're doing something wrong, or you're just trying, because there's no reason that this knife should break. So this one was supposed to be like a 3-finger. My hands aren't tiny, but they're not big either. It does not perform amazingly because there's not a lot to grab onto. So, but it's a knife, and if you needed a knife, that is it, if you want to call it that. It's hardly a knife, it's more like a neck chisel. But anyhow, more into that bluing. This is another one from Bloodline called the Chunk. I don't know why I never ran the handles higher. I felt like it did pretty good like that. This one I did long lines for skinning, utilitarian tasks. This is not a good carver, most likely. Actually, I've never done any carving with this particular knife. Too big of a belly. This thing does not do that great. It's interesting to see the development of your work for sure. You can see that jimping. That was all done with a checkering file. Some of you guys may have even noticed in some of my videos in the shop, there's a writing on my back wall of my bench that says blade patterns marked with J get jimping. Here's a brass model Adventure ADCR V2. We just play with this one and use it. It's gotten a little rusty. And then one of my, I like this knife a whole bunch. I've done a whole bunch of carving with it, but not to the point where I want to wear off any of that coating. I've darkened it just slightly. Thank you, Jacob Peterson, for this awesome Adventure Craft brick craft. This is an awesome knife. I love it. I cherish it. And it goes with me a lot of places. When I go places, it's there because it weighs nothing. It takes up no space. So why not just carry the extra knife? This one's hiding in there too. It's a Gerber Gator 2. Pretty comfy handle. I actually used this handle on another knife that is at home somewhere, now that I'm thinking of it. So another thing from Bloodline that I did was this guy. Now I designed this knife 100% myself on CAD, AutoCAD. This one's called the Cub. This one is not a great example of it because the edge is wrong. I just didn't grind it right. I started making these in like 2016 or 2017. But anyhow, I did powder coat on these too. There's an orange one. Now these all are ADCR V2. They came with this sheath. I didn't make many of these. There's probably only 50 of these out in existence. But I have like 25 of these blanks that are water jet cut sitting at the house in the shop. And I've just kind of been holding on to them, seeing what's gonna happen with Very Good. They're not stamped, and then I have like 6 more of them that are already stamped with BLK. I made a jig. Here's a teal one, powder coat with the silver. This is my wife's. And then there was an OD green one. This one has been in my backpack. Another one of those knives that weighs almost nothing. This knife measures about 6.5 inches. So it's capable of doing a lot of tasks, and it weighs nothing. Oh, I've lost my train of thought. That damn four-wheeler again. Where were we? I wanted to be able to clip this to a carabiner, similar to the Essie Azula, which is what I was kind of trying to contend with this. I didn't really push it like I wanted to, and these started the downfall of the relationship that I had with my old man business partner, the whole Kimosabi thing. I didn't want him to take these and sell them for a whole bunch more than he did, or than I wanted to sell them for. Kind of have the same philosophy. That's Very Good, because that's just how I am, and I believe that knives just shouldn't be so much. They shouldn't be selling for what you can sell them for. Just because you can sell them at that doesn't mean that they should be sold at that. That's a biggie for me. But anyhow, I kind of just aborted this project and saved myself a whole bunch of them. Not a whole bunch of them, about 20 or 25 of these water jet cut blanks, ADCR V2. All I got to do is grind them and heat treat them. And then the whole reason that I powder coated them is because I wanted something that you wouldn't have to take care of. But then you can't strike a ferro rod. It's got this big jimping on the back, and I did that because when there's nothing to hold on to like this, you appreciate it being there. I did, however, soften the jimping up a whole bunch, because when it comes from water jet, it is super sharp, and I didn't want sharp jimping, but it's really big. And it looks really good, but I don't know, we just kind of aborted on this one. But anyhow, I gave a few of these away. I did some giveaways back then. There was also a desert tan one. There was 6 colors, I believe, in total. Maybe just 5. There was, so it would be, the tan would be like a gnat. So gnat, green, black, and then there was the teal, and then the orange. So 5 colors. Now the orange one had this textured powder coat. This is pretty cool looking. And it's pretty functional. However, I could have made it better if I would have done a different edge bevel, edge angle. But it does pretty good. It's at like 20. Just too steep. I like 17 to 18, maximum 19 degree edges. Even on my giant big old knives, like the Walkabout. It's not a giant big old knife, 6-inch knife. 11 inches overall. But the Huntsman too, 6.5 inch. I like those big old 17, 18 degree laid back edges. And if you guys go watch John from Heavyset Tactical, his new review video, which I haven't even watched, he uploaded it late last night, and I have yet to go and watch it. It's 40 minutes long, and when I got up this morning, I was like, oh, we'll watch it when we get home. So I have not watched it yet, but I have seen some of his shorts, all of his shorts, and his original unboxing video, and I did see the first little piece of that new review. He really enjoys the laid back edge that I put on it because it does small tasks and big tasks. So I don't want it to just hold up to extreme use. That's not going to do me any good, because if I set it up for that, then it's never going to do anything but that well. In my opinion, I feel like when you set an edge up so damn steep, you limit your ability to carve with it. You really do. This knife has got that 17, 18 degree. It's about 18 on the bigger knives. I like it just slightly more steep. But this edge will absolutely do a whole lot of intricate work real quick without much effort. Do a reduction. And I really enjoy how slicey those edges are. When you start getting into like 22, 25, then it's just too thick of an edge, too steep. I don't like the way they cut. So I like to lay them back, and a lot of people disagree with that. They feel like it's not going to be tough. Well, be honest with you, we're going back to a heat treat issue there. If it just can't handle anything steeper or shallower than a 18 degree or 19 degree edge, then maybe you need to look at your heat treat. This knife carves like a small knife, the Walkabout. And if you haven't tried one yet, it's probably because you haven't seen them in my store. They're quite time consuming to make, so I just don't do a whole lot of them. Also, it's kind of a niche market thing, you know, if you're into it, you're into it. But what happens is I'll make a good bit of them and then I'll end up sitting on them, which is less beneficial than just not making them. So I do make a good bit of them though, because people hit me up and ask if I'll make them one. I have one on order right now. So this knife carves really, really, really good and really fast with that about 18-degree edge angle, which is about the same. It is the same as the Huntsman. So, dang, we're at the 30-minute mark on this video already. I guess I'm gonna have to wrap it up. Maybe. All right, guys, I've got a table full of knives here. There's knives everywhere. Anyhow, I hope I didn't bore you to death. I bored myself to death, to be totally honest with you. I have rambled on for 30 minutes. Excuse me. Well, guys, thanks for watching. Subscribe for more. Have a good one.